Real Talk with Jodi and Michal. Real friends, real situations, real life. Authentic chats from the heart to the gut. Two best friends keeping it raw, real, and relatable.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to yet another edition of Real Talk with Jodi and Michal. I am a functional nutritionist, Michal Offer, and I'm here with my friend since I was 3 years old, Jodi Greenblatt, empowerment, relationship and empowerment coach. And Jodi, I'll let you introduce yourself and say hi to everybody again.
Hi, Michal. Nice to see everyone again. Yes, I'm Jodi Greenblatt, relationship and empowerment coach. Good to be talking again, Michal. Love these weekly chats we have.
It's given us such a nice excuse to reconnect on so many levels. It's fabulous, and I've been enjoying our conversations. I've been enjoying reconnecting with you. I hope everybody else is enjoying them.
I was
And
just going to say it's been a nice opportunity, a nice excuse, I should say, for you and I to meet every week since we go through phases of how much we chat and then we don't speak for a little bit. And this has been a great reconnect.
been great. And if people listen to our very first intro podcast, they'll learn about our journey and our relationship and how we've known each other literally since I was 3 and you were 4.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Which
Yeah.
is quite amazing. It's been
That's your way of saying I'm older than you, Michal.
but you look the same as you did when you were 12. So we're not worried about that. And yes, you're actually 1 year and
I
three
know.
no, yeah, 1 year and 3
Um,
older than me.
yep.
That's
Something like that. Yep. It's a whole year. Mhm.
yeah. So anyway, but that's just trivial and more for us than for you. So we were starting speaking today, and we were really just talking about how we have different needs in our lives. And I was sharing, I'm in Texas right now, and we are going through this really crazy weather experience, and the winds are going absolutely nuts. We have these really long, really like it's been over a week at least of these really high sustained winds with even bigger gusts. And it's making life here most challenging and really unpleasant. We have dust storms and wind warnings and visibility going down to zero. I live in the desert. I don't live in sexy Texas. People always hear Texas and they go, "Oh, Texas." But no, I don't live in sexy Texas. So I live in the desert. There's these dust storms, and we even get warnings of how if the visibility drops to zero and you're out on the road, you should pull over to the very side of the road, turn off your car and put your foot on the brake and hold it there. And you live in Florida, so you've been
Yeah,
through.
as I was hearing you, I was thinking about how when we have hurricanes here, it's the same. It's pretty much I'm no weather girl, but so my explanation might not be spot on, but it's also the way you were saying it's high winds, hurricane being with rain and gusts as well. So it's from that point of view, it sounds pretty similar. Do you know what the miles per hour are of the winds? Do you know how high they
Yeah, so we've probably got sustained winds right now of around 40 miles an hour with gusts up to 60.
are? Mm-hmm,
I think
mm-hmm,
the biggest difference, and I was saying this before, and I wasn't sure, so I asked between
mm-hmm.
what we're going through and what you're going through, is this has been over a week.
Yeah.
It's
Hurricane
not, it's
typically
not
it
the
doesn't last a week, and yeah, it is different. We can't really compare them. They're not really the
Well, they're
same.
both unpleasant. They're both, they can both
Dangerous.
really be dangerous, and have
Yeah.
to keep looking outside because it's going nuts and you can hear it here, like it's howling. And it makes going outside really difficult. Right?
Yeah, I was asking you if there are warnings not to go outside or how it affects your life.
Yeah, and I don't think it's like a hurricane where you should definitely not be going outside during that time. You have extra.
A hurricane is, I want to say, again, don't quote me, but I want to say a hurricane is considered at 70 miles per hour. So, and then, yeah, we were advised not to go out at all.
Right. And I don't know what a tornado is, but again, tornado comes and goes.
It's different, yeah, and it's different than a hurricane.
Yeah, and I mean it's hurricanes. Yeah. Anyway, I'm not a weather girl either, and I don't want to get into that because everybody's going to add us and say, no, it's not this and that.
That's why I say don't quote me, but yeah, been through it as you're going through it now.
But it wasn't so much about about that part of the situation as it was about going out. And you said, well, you could stay at home for days and days and not have a problem. And I said, I have a need to go outside. And it's really, really a strange concept because it's not that I don't enjoy being at home. I do, but I just want to go out. Like, not it's not a people thing, it's an outside thing.
Oh,
It's
needing to get out, needing a change of scenery, that kind of
yeah,
thing.
needing a breath of
Yeah,
fresh air, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
like, and I think one of the biggest issues, because otherwise I would go mad. And we do. And I used to live in Canada. I lived there for 26 years. And you've never lived in a place where it's really, really, really cold.
There, lived in South
And
Africa, Southern California, and then South Florida. All
right.
are not particularly
Right.
cold. No.
Uh, when you're in Canada and it's really cold for 9 months of the year, and there are times when it is so bitterly cold that going outside is unpleasant, you really cherish going outside, even if you have to bundle up, even if you breathe in and your nose hairs all freeze together, and you don't want to be out there for a long
I
time.
can't imagine.
But when you don't, and when you spend days and days inside, you start to go crazy. I think COVID was a big example of that for a large population. But your take on that was different.
Yeah, I'm going to describe myself as an extrovert, and I really do get my energy from being out and about and being with people. And I can push myself. Like if I'm tired, but I have social plans, I can still keep going and keep going and keep going because I love it. I love talking to people, whether I know them or I don't. And yet, I was saying, and yet, if I were to have to stay at home for a few days, be it because there was a storm or during COVID times, I'm still okay with that. And it might be a few things. First of all, I can keep myself busy. There's a lot of things I like to do. Even though I love working out at the gym, I can work out at home. I think there's a lot of things I can do to keep myself occupied at home. And during COVID, I did a lot of video communications with people, with friends, whether it was Zoom or WhatsApp. And I still felt like my social bucket was getting full in COVID, even not going out.
Interesting,
Yeah.
because I didn't feel that. And
Uh, do you
and
consider yourself an introvert or extrovert or somewhere in the middle?
I think I used to be. It's difficult for me because I've thought about it, and I don't know if you remember, or if we paid attention when we were younger, but I used to be incredibly shy, and I'm still incredibly shy and incredibly self-conscious. However, I have learned to interact with people in a very social manner. And work has actually taught me that. And speaking in front of people, like I've spoken in front of crowds and rooms of hundreds of people.
Mhm.
And I have learned to grab a bunch of energy and feel quite empowered with that. Now, that being said, put me in a room with a bunch of people who I respect a lot, or who I feel are very, very knowledgeable on certain subjects, and I don't feel confident
Yeah,
in
yeah,
them,
yeah.
I still become more awkward.
But that makes sense. I don't think that's an introvert extrovert thing.
Well, there's an and here.
Okay.
I definitely need to balance that with time alone.
Mm.
It's very like I enjoy it. It's not that I don't. Like I love the work that I do. I love the one-on-one work that I do. I love the group work that I do. I love the facilitation and the all of it. I love it. But after it's all said and done, I am exhausted
Mm.
and I need time to rebalance and decompress.
I
And
think that's the sign of an introvert. I think the need for the downtime is
yeah,
how I define it. Versus me going out, no matter how many hours I've been out, I'll come back home hyped. I won't come back home needing downtime. I
right.
think to me, that's the difference between extrovert and introvert.
So I guess so, because I know on those days when I've had like when I've been really full of clients, like Thursdays. Thursdays are a day that I see clients. I see clinic clients. I work with a functional doctor at a clinic too, and I am fully booked, and it's thinking all day, and it's writing notes, and after that day, I don't want to talk to anybody.
Mm.
I don't want to talk to my friends. I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk. I want to just be be myself. I would go to a yoga class and say
Mhm.
hi to everybody, and it's a nice place to decompress my mind. And I've learned to use
It can
yoga
be
for that.
internally focused as well, right? It can be your own space.
Yeah, I've learned. I often call yoga my mental health plan because,
Absolutely.
because
It is. It
yeah,
sure is.
because I use it to balance when I need to. But yeah, so maybe that's the difference between you and me, is that I really need that balance time. And I've learned to really set boundaries for myself
Mhm.
around that, because when I don't, the results for me are not great. I can still put it on and out there and do it all, but I start to I start to break down, and then
What do
my
you mean by that? Like
I,
what
I get niggly with myself. You notice old habits or things that we're all like learned behaviors from childhood that aren't necessarily supportive of us as adults. Those can come back in. I tend to nitpick at my husband, uh,
Mm.
just because I'm irritated and on edge, or I don't respond. I react more than I respond.
Mhm.
Those types of things, like
Yeah.
that ability to be present
Yeah.
lessons.
And emotionally regulated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So, and I think everybody's a little different that way. Although I am a believer, introvert or extrovert, that humans are social animals,
100%.
and we definitely require interaction with each other. I'm not going to say everyone and no one,
Mhm.
but on the bell curve,
Mhm.
there are some people who can never, ever be alone. And there's some people on the other side of the bell curve who are loners, but they are outliers. For most of us on the bell curve, we need human interaction. And it's been proven that we are mentally, physically, and emotionally healthier when we interact with others. It's one of the big problems with old age
Yeah. Yeah. Being
is
isolated.
isolation.
Yeah, and look what happened with COVID. The whole world got isolated. That's huge. This concept that you're busy talking about now is a bit of my soapbox, because in terms of when I work with clients, how important I believe it to be to have people in your life, to have a support system, to be part of community, to do things and have people that give you feedback. And okay, so remember, a lot of what I do is working with relationships, whether it's working with couples or whether it's individuals working on their relationships with other people. Even that concept of having a partner that you share your life with, or even if it's not on a very deliberate level, you're sharing your thoughts with someone, you're sharing your experiences with someone, you're getting this natural feedback on of what from the world, versus living in isolation. I think it can literally, I'm going to go as far as to literally say it can make a person a little insane. Because if you live in your own head without getting feedback from a partner, from friends, from the community, you start to live in your own head and have your own thoughts. And I don't think that's healthy.
Well, I don't believe that it is either. But then we have another issue which is going on in the world right now, which is quite alarming, is we surround ourselves in a feedback bubble where all the feedback that we get is exactly like what's going on in our heads.
Oh, true. You mean like, for instance, the way social media algorithms happen, and that's a very good point, Michal.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when people follow, like, are very vehemently behind a political movement, right? They don't hear anything else.
Mm-hmm.
They hear is their own, their own
Yeah,
diet.
because you're going to attract the same friends, you're going to attract the same followers and followings on social media. You're going to watch the same things, listen to the same podcasts, and it's all reverberates. Yeah, it's wow, this is a
And
good point.
yeah, so, and I think in our modern world, what has happened, and I think it has happened especially since COVID, because during COVID times, and it's been shown that it was a social media manipulation, a total media
Say
manipulation,
that again.
that during COVID times,
Yeah.
as a result of a media and social media manipulation,
Uh-huh.
there was one narrative only, and if
Mhm.
you questioned that narrative,
Uh,
you were outcast from the tribe.
be specific with you talk about the COVID narrative?
Everything, yeah, the entire COVID narrative, which I'm not saying is right or wrong or good or bad. I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying we're not allowed to disagree with the narrative, like the origin of COVID narrative, or the vaccine narrative, or the isolation narrative, or the masking narrative. Anything you were not allowed to question.
Or if you did,
If you did question, you were silenced. You
or
were
you were considered
outcast from the tribe. So
Mhm.
that only accentuated and exacerbated this problem of we're living in our own feedback loop with everything around us. And what has come out of that is being challenged or challenging somebody is now seen as a direct assault as opposed to a
A
conversation or
healthy
a debate.
disagreement with different views.
Exactly. Like, change my mind. I'm open to you changing
Yes.
my mind. But at the
Mhm.
same time, you have to be open to me changing yours. And we can disagree, um,
Mhm.
and we can choose to never speak
Yeah.
about it again.
Yeah.
Allowed to have that conversation. And I
And
think
I will say it doesn't have to be change your mind. It can be, you can still decide to keep your own view. But I think we're, again, if we say healthier, just hearing different perspectives. You can decide, not for me, but truly hear the other perspective.
that's what I'm saying. Because if I listen to you and you have a totally different opinion to me,
Mhm.
right? I am open to the possibility of, in some way, on some level, by actually listening to you, of accepting or rejecting your premise. So
Mhm.
you can change my mind. You might
Mhm.
not,
Yeah.
might.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you listening to me gives me gives that's what open debate is.
Yeah.
Debate is taking two things that are absolutely opposed to each other
Mhm.
and either moving the needle one way or the other, maybe finding some common ground in between, or being at an impasse and say, well, that's where it's at for now. Maybe we should revisit it at a
Yeah.
at a later stage. You see this in the diet industry and in the nutrition industry all the time. It's
Okay, tell me about that because I was going to tell you how you see it in relationships, but tell me how in the diet industry.
well, you hear about this diet is the right diet, it's the only diet.
Exactly, right.
And which some, like, there are scientific bases. Oh, and often in this bubble that we live in, sorry, I'm digressing, but often in this bubble that we live in, we reject science. It's got nothing to do with science. It has to do with feelings. And
Mm,
I mean, I even remember, I have to say this, during COVID, where we were told the science was declared, the science was done. And actually, science is never done.
mm,
Science is a constant exploration and
mm.
a constant seeking of an answer to something. And the more we learn, the more questions come up.
Things change. That brings to the point of the benefits and the healthiness of being willing to change, see new things and change as new research comes, new science
That's
information comes.
so back to the nutrition world,
Mhm.
you'll see there are very distinct camps. They will not speak to each other. They will not debate. I mean, they'll debate each other, but without any, it's not a debate. It's I'm trying to force my will on you. So if you look at vegan diets as opposed to ketogenic diets or carnivore diets, or even the food pyramid and the way that that works, it's ridiculous. And it's really difficult to have a conversation with somebody who has a philosophical different view to you, whether that view has any basis in actual proof and analysis or not. So, if this is what I believe, it's not what the evidence. I mean, some of the evidence has shown me, and you can look at any study anywhere on anything and find. I mean, or you can study. So not any study. You can study anything and you can find what you're looking for. Study it enough, you'll find what you're looking for.
Mhm.
Right? Test it enough, you'll find what. Even if you only do it once, you'll find what you're looking for.
Yeah, bias. You'll
And
depend.
there's a whole bunch of bias in, but anyway,
Mhm.
so if you philosophically believe something, right, it's really it's hard to change somebody's mind. It's like a religious fanatic,
So what
right?
does that mean about diets then? If
It
there's
makes
different
it
diets,
feel,
are they all valid on some level? Are some better for different people?
I think you have to look, number one, what the diet industry has stopped doing long ago is truly looking at and the human as an ancestral animal. We have been on this planet for millions of years. How have we evolved to be where we are? Physiologically, how does the body work? What do we need to do to make the body work? Right? And instead, it's like, well, I believe this, and I'm not going to say anything of that because right now I don't want to get into that. I believe this, therefore everything else is moot and doesn't exist. And a million years of evolution might not exist either because I believe this now and this is the right way to go. And it becomes really hard. And when you work in this world, number one, as a coach, you have to work with people who are open to who you can have that healthy conversation with, right? Always, because otherwise people come in with their own limiting beliefs and all of the things, and it can become really difficult to shift and change that if a person is really not open to it. But it becomes, really understanding from my perspective and how I approach things. There will be people I can help, and there will be people that I can't.
And wouldn't those who come to you be aligned with you to begin with, so you can help them?
Sometimes, as I said, I work at a clinic, so I often don't get to choose some of my clients,
Mhm.
and those conversations can be interesting, and they're incredibly challenging for me because, as we've spoken about in previous podcasts, you have to speak to somebody who's listening.
Mhm.
Right? The minute we
Mhm.
tell somebody they're wrong or telling them what to do, their
Mhm.
defenses go up and the chances of making any progress go down really fast.
And I will say that my view is it's not anyone's place to tell someone that they're wrong because we are each our own person who can live our lives the way we want. So who are we to say someone is wrong?
Well, okay, so I could differ on that
Yeah.
because I see some people who are very ill
Mm,
due to their philosophical beliefs
uh-huh.
will not admit that what they are doing is not
Uh-huh.
serving themselves
Okay.
and
Yeah.
they are wrong.
Yeah. I hear you. I
It's
hear.
not, they are not serving themselves. There's no such thing as living my truth when my truth is killing me. I mean, that's kind of silly, or living my truth when my truth isn't based in reality in any way whatsoever, and it's harmful. If it's not harmful,
Harmful, yes, I would say the
that's
line
fine.
is at harm, right? Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's, what is harm? And then you have people who prioritize other lives over themselves. And I bet you see this in relationships as
Yeah.
well. That's
Yeah.
harmful to you.
Yeah.
It's harmful.
Yeah.
And but you can't simply say to somebody, you're an idiot.
And because that's not the case. See, I'm going to, and you,
Oh,
we
but
might,
I mean
we
that,
might
I
call
mean
it semantics. We
Hmm.
might call it semantics, but I genuinely come from a place where it takes a lot for me to consider somebody wrong, unless they are truly harming somebody else.
What about harming themselves?
It depends what that harm is. Depends what that harm is. If someone is making decisions that are not in their best interest, but it's not to the point of like severe harm, life and death. I mean, I can give people options and work through the benefits and risks, but I very much still will never judge a person and won't consider it wrong. I will consider them to be allowed to live their life the way they want.
Okay, and I can see that. And I think again,
That's why I say it could be semantics the way you see it. But
heads.
for me, it's like comes from truly like a deep belief and like genuine place of how I see people and how I see the world.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was going to bring up some controversial, but I think that'll take us
Oh, no,
on.
okay, now you have to because you just said it.
I was going to say that even suicide, as much as in my own field, we are obligated, licensed therapists are obligated to act if someone is going to harm themselves or someone else, only when that harm is imminent death, like severe harm. So if someone is suicidal, I'm obligated to act on that, even if it violates confidentiality. And confidentiality is a big, big, big requirement, big ethical and legal consideration. And even though, of course, I would do that for clients and would want to do that because I do think it's the right thing to do, I don't think it's contradictory. The fact that I, as a human being, me as a person, I believe that a person has the right to even take their own life. I believe that as a philosophy on life. A person can live the life the way they want, and I think they have the right to kill themselves if they want.
I can see that, and it's something that I'd have to think about a lot more. Now, in Canada, they have a program called Medically Assistance in Dying.
Wow. And do you have to have certain criteria though? Do you have to be like
You used to have to, and now the criteria are very, very lax. And from my perspective, that's very, very dangerous because, again, going back to our conversation about we're not, we're in this world right now where there's no we're so conflict avoidant, right? That we live in our own bubble that we also are becoming more and more challenged to deal with life. And we're not taught those skills. And
what you mean and why now? And why are you saying we're becoming more conflict avoidant? And why do you think we're worse at navigating life now than we used to be?
okay, so I'm just going to give the most simple and basic of examples.
Yeah.
Right. When we were little,
Mm.
and you played team sports or individual sports,
Mm.
there were winners and losers.
Mm-hmm.
Learned how to win, and you learned how to win gracefully.
Yeah.
Learned how to lose,
And it was about being being a good sport.
learn how to be right. Now there's no such thing. Everybody's a participant and everybody's equal.
Mm.
So then you go out into the real world and your boss tells you that you're a piece of one day.
That you're not even performing up to par. It can be as simple as that.
I'm sorry, my dogs are going a little crazy.
Okay, no worries. We can't hear it as much as you can.
Right. So what did you say?
I was saying, oh, maybe sport also was the purpose was more about just enjoying yourself, growing, and being a good sport. It wasn't.
But there was still a lesson in that, right?
Yes, for
Let me
sure.
you and I sat at our high school graduation ceremony, and people won medals for achievement, right? And there is very little of that right now. So we don't learn how to deal with success, and we also don't learn how to deal with failure.
Yeah.
So it becomes very disconcerting as an adult when you go through these things, because we do, and I'm sure you see this in relationships a lot, that people, some simple skills that we might have had from when we were little, and just in that childhood play and all of those, because playing as children teaches us to be social as adults.
Yeah.
A lot of that is now more moderated and taken away and politicized and all of the things. And so we end up with, as adults, that don't know how to deal with both success and failure. Like some of the most depressed people are the most successful, right? That you're chasing and chasing and chasing something, and it comes there and you don't know how to deal with it. So right, like many aspects. So that was where I think taking away all or many of the restrictions for medically assistance in dying becomes a slippery slope, and it has become a slippery slope in Canada. And who's to determine whether your mental illness is severe enough to warrant a judge approving your death or not?
Yeah, no, it's very controversial. Absolutely.
And it's a complicated subject.
Of course it is.
But anyway, so
Oh, I know my view. I totally see the other. I totally see the other views, and I totally see the other side, and I totally respect a view that would be completely opposed to mine on this. Just what we were saying about hearing other people's views. And I will say at this point, in terms of relationships, it's such a useful, healthy way to navigate with any relationship, and in particular a relationship with your significant other, to be able to hear another person's point of view, and like you were saying, and be willing to be swayed, but also one of the foundational pieces of healthy communication in a partnership, in a significant other relationship, whatever you want to call it, is being able to hear the other person, even if you have a different view, and the other person to be able to respect what you have to say, even if it's different, and still find a way to navigate life together, because now we've got two people living together, navigate life together and resolve conflicts together, even if you haven't swayed the other person to your views. Because sometimes you'll hear the other person in your relationship and agree with them, and you'll move along. Other times you'll continue to have your own separate views, and you still have to find a way to live together peacefully, communicate, have a fulfilling life, and resolve conflicts. That's how important it is to be able to hear another person's perspective, at least hear it.
And that's how destructive, I believe, and you can agree or disagree with me, our current world is, because if you don't agree with me, you're out of my life. There's very much that right now, and especially politically in North America, families have broken up. Like, people don't speak to their families. People have gotten divorced because they have a different political perspective.
True story.
And it's crazy. And the that vortex that we live in feeds the thoughts about why the person is wrong and bad and should be excommunicated from your life. And then it's supported by your community. Yes, excommunicate that person, right? They don't deserve a part of your life. They don't deserve to be alive. There's one right way and one wrong way. And I find that very scary. And yeah, and scary, because what does that mean? That means that we're all going to be the same. And then what does that mean for us as
human beings?
Yeah, it just
Because we are all so diverse, really. That's what makes us different.
But every single animal is like that, even if it's nuanced, right? If we have pets, Even if you guys just had all the puppies, and you know that they're all the same puppies, they're all from the same mummy, but they all have a different personality.
Oh man, absolutely, totally. But we name them based on their personalities. Absolutely, you can see their
So It's
personalities.
it's, a, it's an entire
Yeah,
animal thing, right?
yeah.
And there's this sounds very cruel, and I don't mean it in a life and death, but there's a survival of the
Of the
fittest.
fittest.
There is a clawing, and we'll call it a metaphorical clawing to survive,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
The goal of being alive is to procreate and to advance your species. That's what it is. And if we're all the same, the desire to do that, like even the sexual desire to do that, just becomes.
So that sounds like you're making a good argument for if we all become the same and we don't embrace each other's differences, that even the species could be at risk of continuing.
Well,
Are
humans
you
are
saying
social
because
creatures,
sexually you wouldn't be attracted to someone who's exactly like you? Yeah, that's a very interesting theory.
right? And
I can see.
we are, whether you are an introvert or an extrovert, for the most part, remember the bell curve I spoke about, for the
Mhm.
most part, we require some human interaction. And
Yes,
that
yes.
human interaction, I don't think the best human interaction necessarily. I mean, sometimes it's wonderful, not to say that it's never good, but the continuous human interaction of you are right, you are perfect, everything you do is great, you are right, you are perfect, everything that you do is great, everything that the other does is terrible, and we are right, we are perfect, we are in this perfect community, doesn't serve us.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe it serves us. We stagnate as humans, um and I think it can have a big impact. And if you look at right now, even on a physio, and there's many, many reasons for it, but the drop in birth rates in the
Is
West,
there a drop in birth rates right now? Is that what you're saying?
ridiculous drop in birth rate in the Western world,
And
yes.
what are you saying the reason is?
I'm not saying it's the only reason,
Um,
but I'm saying that part of it is this, well, why have a kid? Like if this is it and this is all we've got, why have a kid? We're not taught to strive for it. Like there's no winning, there's no failing, everything is doom and gloom, and this is the bubble that we live in, and what's the point? Right? There's no.
fewer children in the Western world. Yeah, I would say anecdotally, I'm going to say this. I think I know a lot more people with one child versus growing up. I don't know if I had any friends who were only children.
Right?
I'm racking my brain to think about it, but today I certainly know people.
And there's financial issues. I mean, there's many,
Mhm.
many issues. This isn't the only thing,
Mhm.
but it's all part of it. It's too hard. It's too hard, right? We're not taught, like, hard isn't we nothing is hard anymore. We're not taught how to deal with like challenging stuff like that. I don't, again, the women's movement, we discussed that a little bit, where your
Mhm.
career is more important than what we are, what than nurturing what is in us. And it's not to say you can't have both, and please don't at me at that, but women are the only people that can give birth to children.
Yeah.
Matter
Yeah.
what the media might tell you, women, females are the only things that can give birth. And we are not snails. Snails are not like that. But and it's challenging. I spoke with a guy yesterday, a new patient at our clinic, South African guy actually.
South African?
South African guy, yeah, our age. And he was talking, and I said, "Well, how many kids?" And he's been in Canada. The clinic that I work at is in Canada. He's been in Canada for as long as, like, he went to Canada in 2000, and I went in 1998. Like, he's been there as long as I was there almost. And I said, "Oh, how many kids do you have?" And guess how many he told me he had? Five.
Um,
And like five nowadays.
Yeah.
is a lot,
It
right?
is.
Like I'm
In
one
days gone by, it wasn't, but you're right. Today,
I'm one of four, and a lot of I mean, you're one of two.
hmm
But you were probably more of an anomaly for us growing up. Most people had three or four.
Ah, hmm. I
About
don't
it.
remember growing up thinking that it was different.
No, you don't think about it like, but
Uh,
looking back, it's not to say good or bad, but looking back,
yeah,
I
now
know
that you make me
most
think about it, I think a lot of my friends were one of three. Yeah.
yeah, four was considered getting up there, but most people had three.
Hmm.
So you were duplicating yourself and adding one. And now you're halving if you have one.
Yeah,
Even
one's becoming common. Yeah, I'd love to look at those statistics
yeah,
of the
it's definitely
change
statistically there's
over
been a
time.
huge drop,
Yeah.
with the exception of ultra religious communities. So
Yes, I was thinking, well, there's gonna, yeah, I was thinking that too, and but certainly there's exceptions. Certainly
yes,
there's
and I'm
gonna
talking Western world communities, not the undeveloped world or the Islamic
be.
world, but
Mhm,
you have
mhm.
Mormons, you have the Amish, you have um you have some Christian communities, and you have religious Orthodox Jewish people, and those guys tend to have more kids, right? Even Catholics now are finding ways around their birth control laws.
Mhm, mhm.
So, and
Yeah.
there's many reasons for all of that, but I don't want to talk about that.
Yes, I was also not going to go into it, even though my
Ask-
mind is
I
real.
want to, yeah, I know the mind goes in many directions. It was more about this need for connection. And how are you noticing in both your practice and in your coaching world how we've become more challenged over the years, or have we become more challenged over the years, with finding true connection, with being able to open your heart and your mind to true connection?
Yeah. You know, I really, I'm seeing people connecting less and less deeply.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't know if maybe also technology is getting in the way of that because we do have the ability to I mean, how often are we texting people instead of actually talking? That's not an argument can be made that people can have really deep conversations with texting back and forth. I cannot do that. If I'm texting, it's going to be for a quick little something or a coordinating a time or something like that. But if I'm going to share even something mildly personal, oh, I'm going to do that in person or on the phone. But I don't know. I think people maybe share stuff via text.
I think, may I interrupt here? I
Yes, I want to hear.
think there is a nuance, and like the emotion is lost in text, and text is open to interpretation.
Misunderstandings, which we are.
Interpretation. So
Yeah.
it's funny because if I think about, the online dating world right now has exploded. And people chat for days and days and months online before they meet. And I always tell friends of mine, single friends of mine, and I'm not a relationship coach or an expert in relationships like you, but one thing I did learn in my short little foray into online dating quite a couple of decades ago is that you have to connect with somebody,
Yeah.
decide if you're semi-compatible, and meet
Yes.
right away.
I agree with you on that.
But I want to
Not
tell you why.
not
Because
everybody does. And again, when I say not everybody, I don't mean professionals, but I agree with you. But I want to hear why
I'll
you're saying
tell you why.
that.
Because the longer we text with somebody,
Mhm.
the more we interpret what they say to create an image in our own mind of
Because we have to, our brain naturally wants to make sense of things and have
the
explanation.
emotion. It's like reading a book. When you read a book, the movie is never as good, ever, because the movie cannot be what you created in your mind with the book.
Mm.
The movie can be brilliant, but the book will always be better.
So
And
you're saying the longer you go on texting a person before you meet them, you're creating a
this
non-reality necessarily something that's not real because you've actually never met them. So it is whatever you create about that person necessarily is not accurate.
it can't be
Yeah.
because you've not seen. right? Even with video, even if you do video chats and stuff, I think one of the reasons people like that, and one of the reasons like these online like sexual chat things and stuff work, is because of the lack of they're not personal.
Yes.
And
Wow.
oh, you meet somebody who you've been chatting with, and let's say you're looking for deep connection, you're not just looking
Mhm.
for one night
Mhm.
hookup, and you're looking for deep connection. I'm willing to bet that most of the time you will
Mhm.
be disappointed in the meeting because you have created this image in your mind that is not going to be
So
the
I'm
same.
going to say another possibility. Yes, you can be disappointed, or you continue the non-reality. I could use the word fantasy, but I think people might understand that word differently than the way I might mean it. Or you might continue that non-reality and miss seeing the person for who they really are. So the disappointment might not happen right away. And that's a whole other risk, because you to continue, and I think you're saying the same thing. So now you've built up something about a person, you meet them, you continue to think they are who they are, despite what you might be seeing in
That's what your
reality.
eyes and ears are telling you, right?
And some people might call it gaslighting yourself. And so you continue this relationship with someone only to find out months later, if you're lucky, if not years later, this is not the person you imagined them to be when you were texting. So this is definitely a risk. I'm with you on that. I definitely I follow single sites. I don't mean dating sites. I just mean forums.
Yeah.
Because it gives me a lot of information for the work that I do. And I see a ton of people thinking that it is a good idea to be texting for a long time to get to know someone. I very much disagree with that. And I believe in when we are dating, to text just to determine if you want to meet the person.
Yes.
And then when meeting the person, I think that first date needs to just be, how do I feel with that in that person's presence? I think that just needs to be the only thing that you answer. So you not again continuing what you and I are agreeing on, not in that first date to be continuing that texting, to be continuing interrogating or finding. You cannot in the first date find out a lot about the person. To me, that first date comes
Is
back to what we talked
that,
about before.
that
What I was
feeling.
going to say. I think that first date needs to be purely in tune with, how do I feel? What's my gut telling me? My intuition. Get out. Don't be thinking anything on that date. Be walking away with, how did I just feel in his presence? And this brings to that whole thing you and I have talked about, and our connection that we talk about, the gut connection, even though yours is nutrition, yours is body, physiology, mine is emotions, relationships. In order to date well, you got to be in touch with your intuition first. You got to get that under wraps. Got to be in touch with your intuition, and you got to be emotionally regulated before you can make good decisions in who your partner is going to be.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's a nice place to leave it for
Yeah.
today, because at the end of the day, again, bell curve, not it, but I do believe, and I've said it before, and I think you agree with me, humans have a need to couple. It might not be forever monogamy, but we have a need to, we're
Yeah.
like swans. We have
Yeah.
a
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with it at all. It is natural.
So get out of the house, even when it's windy and you can't see. And
Be safe out there, Michal. You be safe in this
yeah,
weather we're
you,
having.
hopefully by next week it'll be over. I don't know. It's like this never-ending
I
storm.
know.
But Jodi, always a pleasure. And for everybody out there, subscribe to our channel. It helps us grow. It helps us share this with somebody who might find it helpful or might get a laugh out of it in some way. We hope that you found some interesting nuggets here for you. Questions, comments, always welcome, because again, we want to talk about our stuff, but we also want to talk about stuff that other people are interested in too, because we're all voyeurs and we all like to watch each other's lives at some point.
All right. Nice to see you. And
Nice
I'll
to
see you
see you.
again
Have a
next
great
week.
week. Yeah. Bye.